The story you are about to witness is not about the loss of a ring or the downfall of a CEO. It's about something much deeper and more painful, the loss of family. It is a tale about the exact moment when physical pain becomes unbearable emotional pain, forging a heroine from the ashes of abandonment. Before we begin, we ask that you tell us in the comments where you are watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next act of justice.
The air conditioning at the Design and Data Analysis Agency in San Francisco was frigid, but I, Erica, was on fire. I'm a systems analyst, focused, hardworking, and I lived for work, seeking the validation I never found at home. My stomach was in lacerating agony, a sharp pain that started as a twinge and escalated into a serious health crisis. I was hunched over my desk, desperately trying to ignore the cold sweat that covered me. My body's voice, usually silenced by my will, was now screaming, "Collapse." The setting was the office, but the drama was familial. I knew I needed immediate help. Not just a taxi. I needed someone to support me, someone to drive me and stay with me. There was only one number I dialed in times of crisis. The number that was supposed to represent security. With a trembling hand and blurred vision, I dialed my mother's number. Her voice answered, cheerful. "Mom, it's me," I whispered, my voice almost inaudible from pain. I feel really sick. I'm at the office. It's really bad, Mom. I think it's serious. I need you to come. I can't drive and I can't get a taxi alone. Please come pick me up and take me to the hospital. Please?" There was a silence on the other end of the line, a silence that for me lasted an eternity and became the measure of my entire worth. I could hear background music and cheerful voices, the soundtrack of a normal life that did not include me. "Erica? What's wrong with you? You always exaggerate," my mother replied, her voice irritated and impatient. She didn't ask where it hurt, she accused me of exaggerating. "Mom, I'm not exaggerating. I'm in so much pain, I can barely stand. Please, it's urgent." My mother's response was the lowest blow. It didn't come with anger. It came with a casual coldness that dismembered me. "Look, Erica, it's impossible right now. Your father and I are going out for dinner. It's Diana's special dinner. Her fiancé is here and we're celebrating his promotion. Everything is set. We can't cancel now. We can't disappoint your sister." I sobbed. The physical pain and the emotional pain merged into a single nausea. "But Mom, what about me? I'm alone. What if it's appendicitis? I might pass out." "Oh, Erica, don't be dramatic. You're an adult. You have great insurance. I can't ruin your sister's dinner. It's not fair to Diana. Call an Uber Black. You can afford it. Go to the hospital and call me afterward. Bye, honey, and get well." She hung up. There was no "I love you," no "call me back," just the instruction to call an Uber and the relentless prioritization of Diana, the favorite superficial sister. I sat there, the phone slipping from my hands, tears falling not because of the physical pain, but because of the total abandonment that had just materialized. I realized in that moment that it wasn't just the dinner. Their lives, their happiness, and Diana's status would always be more important than my pain, my safety, or my life. The priority was not the daughter in crisis, it was the sister who brought social pride. The pain in my stomach was not the problem. It was the catalyst. Call an Uber. Pay for it. Don't ruin your sister's dinner. The physical pain would pass, but the pain of rejection burned me deeper. I am a nuisance. I am a burden. They left me to die alone in an office so Diana could have a nice dinner. I finally managed to stand up, staggering to the break room, determined not to beg again. My heart, my spirit, and my belief in family had suffered a total rupture. I swear that if I survived that night, they would pay the full price for teaching me what it was to be irrelevant.
The taxi took me to the hospital. The pain was excruciating, but I was more conscious of the coldness of the leather seat than of my own condition. Within a few hours, I was on the operating table. The diagnosis came quickly: acute appendicitis, almost too late. I survived the emergency surgery, but the physical wound was nothing compared to the cut my soul had suffered. I woke up hours later, alone in the white, sterile hospital room, connected to machines that made a constant beeping sound, my only source of company. I was weak, my mouth dry, and the anesthesia still clouded my thoughts. I had called my parents after the surgery, but the call went to voicemail. They didn't return the call. I was utterly alone, the despair of hospital solitude becoming the new reality. No one came. No one bothered to call back. I nearly died, and they were busy with dinner. Their dinner table was worth more than my place in the hospital. I am an inconvenience. I am a burden they don't want to carry. I finally managed to grab my cell phone, which was on the bedside table. With a trembling hand, I tried to distract myself, accessing my social media. It was there that the emotional pain became fatal. The first photo on my feed was of my sister, Deanna. The photo was vibrant, Deanna radiant, embracing my parents, all smiling happily at a table in a chic restaurant exactly at the moment I was being rushed to surgery. Deanna's smile was wide, guiltless, shadowless. But it was the caption that destroyed me. The caption, written by my sister, the favorite, read, "Best family weekend ever. Missing nothing." The weight of those words hit me like a physical blow, nullifying the anesthesia and the surgical pain. Missing nothing. I was the nothing. I was the absence that didn't matter. The photo, the smile, the caption, everything was the final proof that I had been deliberately excluded and rejected. The promise of dinner wasn't an excuse. It was the truth. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. The pain transformed into something cold, something I had never felt, an unbreakable, cold fury. The body of Erica, the submissive daughter who begged for attention, died right there in that hospital bed. Erica's internal monologue: "No more. It's over. You abandoned me. You preferred a lie and a photo to my life. I will no longer beg for my place in the family. I will cut the cord. You wanted my absence. You will have my total absence. And when you need me, when your world collapses, I will remember exactly this photo." I made a pact of silence right there, under the constant beeping of the heart monitor. I swore that I would cut contact and build a life of such overwhelming success, of unreachable power and wealth, that my family would wish me back. They would call me. They would beg. But it would be too late. I would be the absence that finally mattered. I will be the wealth they cannot buy. I will be the daughter they lost forever. I deleted my social media. I stopped calling my parents. I rose from that hospital bed with a new mission: to survive, to prosper, and to avenge my stolen dignity. Time fast-forwarded 5 years. The smell of hospital alcohol and the memory of the heart monitor were replaced by the aroma of gourmet coffee and the constant click of a high-tech keyboard. The Erica who begged for help in San Francisco no longer existed. As soon as I recovered from surgery, I liquidated my life in San Francisco and moved to the other coast, to Los Angeles, a city that promised me anonymity and ruthless ambition. I channeled every ounce of pain and rejection into work, turning abandonment into a Spartan discipline. My life became a ceaseless series of code, algorithms, and negotiations. I didn't seek love, friendship, or family. I saw power. I became an expert in data analysis and software design applied to property development. My mind, once distracted by the need for acceptance, was now a problem-solving machine. Success came quickly. I realized that Sterling Global, my future husband's company, had a severe flaw in its asset management. I used that insight to found my own startup, Aura Systems. Aura Systems didn't just compete, it became a silent threat to the big companies in the sector, including my future husband's, due to its incredibly accurate market forecasting technology. I became reserved, cold, and financially unassailable. My status was forged in steel. I didn't need anyone, and that's how I wanted it to be. The only proof that the old Erica existed were my surgical scars and the emptiness in my heart. Fate, however, brought love back, but this time on my terms. At a conference in Seattle, I met Richard Stone. Richard was a technology magnate who had built a real estate empire. He was powerful, but unlike my parents, he was a man of integrity. He was not intimidated by my ambition, he admired it. Our relationship was built slowly on a foundation of mutual respect. I told him about my family's betrayal, omitting only Diana's name and the hospital details. Richard understood my need for anonymity and security. We married in an intimate, secret ceremony on the coast. I became Mrs. Stone, but I kept my maiden name, Erica, in all my public business records. The surname Stone was my new shield, my new name for contracts and personal security. Erica's true identity, the rejected daughter, was buried beneath the unassailable status of Mrs. Stone, the magnate's wife. I was rich, powerful, and married to the right man, but my family didn't even know of my existence. They believed I was at some low-level job in San Francisco, maybe still struggling to pay rent. They were about to discover, in the cruelest way, the truth about the daughter they abandoned on a hospital bed. While Erica, under the name Mrs. Stone, was building a billion-dollar empire on the West Coast, life in San Francisco for her parents and her sister, Diana, was collapsing under the weight of mediocrity and mismanagement. Diana's superficial charm, which once guaranteed her social advantages and rich boyfriends, failed to generate any sustainable wealth. The fiancé she had stolen from Erica, the one whose promotion justified the abandonment at the hospital, proved to be a professional failure. They separated in a bitter divorce, and Diana was forced to move back into her parents' house, bringing with her a mountain of credit card debt. The parents' lives had also stagnated. The mid-sized family business failed due to poor management. They weren't bankrupt, but they were on the brink of a financial precipice. The money they used to maintain social status and Diana's privilege had dried up. The moment of real crisis came with the foreclosure of the family house. Years ago, Erica's father had co-signed a large loan to expand the business, and Diana, with her blind ambition, had been convinced to co-sign the house's mortgage as collateral. The unexpected problem was the foreclosure. The bank was demanding full repayment of the loan in 60 days. Without selling the house, the family would lose everything: their home, their status, and the last shred of dignity. "We can't lose the house. What am I going to tell my friends? Where am I going to live? My status depends on that house," It's Dad's fault for being naive in business and my ex-fiance's fault for being a failure. Diana's arrogance prevented her from taking any responsibility. Desperate and lacking real financial connections, the parents and Diana united in an act of final pleading. They needed a massive loan from an investment fund that wouldn't ask questions and could quickly cover the mortgage. Diana's research, through desperate social connections, led them to a single name: the billionaire investment fund Stone Global. Known for its discretion and its vast capital, the fund seemed to be the only miracle capable of saving the family home and their status. Erica's father, Mr. Vance, called the office. He had to use all his old connections to force a meeting with the board. He begged for a chance. And to his surprise, the meeting was scheduled. The confirmation email arrived in a matter of hours. The meeting would be in Los Angeles at the Stone Global headquarters. The email was signed by E. Stone, Chief Financial Officer. They assumed E was a stern businessman. The parents and Diana breathed a sigh of relief. They were confident that their charm and family unity would be enough to convince the CFO to save the family home. They were about to walk into the Stone Global headquarters, unaware that the owner of the desk was the daughter they had instructed to call a taxi while she was on the verge of death. The panic of foreclosure had turned the Vance family into desperate supplicants. They had only one chance for salvation: the billionaire investment fund, Stone Global. Diana, despite her failure to maintain a marriage, still possessed the strength of her social facade. She used old connections, unreturned favors, and her ex-husband's name to force the scheduling of a meeting. The focus was not on the merit of the proposal, but simply getting a foot in the door at Stone Global. Her effort, surprisingly, worked. They received confirmation. Mr. Vance, the father, and Mrs. Vance, the mother, felt the weight of the humiliation, but agreed to go. They needed the house. They needed Diana to be the charming daughter who would save them. I know I can do this. They just need to see me. I am the favorite. I am the charm. This Mr. Stone will fall for our story and our family potential. Diana's arrogance prevented her from seeing the risk. She only saw status as a tool. The trip to Los Angeles was tense. The ironic stage of the meeting was the Stone Global headquarters, a monumental skyscraper of steel and glass, dominating the city skyline. The building was the epitome of the power they had scorned when rejecting Erica for her hard work. The parents and Diana tried hard to look successful. They wore old clothes, attempting to look vintage instead of dated, but the anxiety and desperation beneath the fabric were palpable. They were certain the meeting would be with the CEO, Richard Stone, or one of his high-ranking male executives. Diana's charm would be directed at the man making the decision. The meeting confirmation had been signed by E. Stone, Chief Financial Officer. They chuckled at the brief signature. "Must be a severe man," Mr. Vance commented. "We need to be formal. Diana, use your favorite daughter charm." They were confident they could charm the CEO, utterly unaware that the CFO, E. Stone, was the daughter they had instructed to call a taxi while she was nearly dying alone. They were about to beg for survival from the daughter they abandoned. The parents and Diana were escorted to the 50th floor, the executive suite, where an elegant and authoritative figure was sitting with their back to the door. They entered, ready for the plea. The figure turned, and the shock of reality was about to hit them full force. The game of abandonment was about to be concluded. The 50th floor of Stone Global was a sanctuary of marble and glass, silent and intimidating. Mr. Vance, Mrs. Vance, and Diana were led to the executive waiting area, nervousness corroding each of them. They sat on leather couches, forcing smiles while waiting for the Chief Financial Officer, E. Stone. Mr. Vance reviewed the mortgage numbers, cold sweat running down his temples. "Remember," he whispered to his wife and Diana, No fighting. No mentioning family problems. Focus on the investment potential and use your charm. Diana, you have to be the perfect daughter. Diana was more worried about her own appearance. I'm out of my depth. Where are the bodyguards? This Mr. Stone needs to see that we are a high-level family. I just need 30 minutes to charm this man and the house will be saved. The door to the executive office opened, and a figure walked out. The woman who entered the waiting area was the personification of discreet power. Dressed in a perfectly tailored business suit, with flawless hair and a cool look of authority, she didn't just look successful, she looked unbreakable. She walked up to them. Her eyes were the first thing to hit them. They were cold, hard eyes that analyzed and judged without blinking. They were the eyes they had last seen, full of tears, in a hospital bed. It was Erica. Time stopped. The three family members let out a muffled sound of horror and disbelief. Their faces turned pale. There was no denying it. Erica, what are you doing here? Mr. Vance stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. The shock of recognition was absolute. Diana tried to smile, but the smile failed and contorted into terror. Erica did not smile. She remained impassive, the posture of authority brutally contrasting with the image of the daughter who begged for help. I am the Chief Financial Officer, E. Stone. I am the person who will be conducting your meeting. Mrs. Vance, the mother, was the first to resort to denial. No, it can't be. Erica, are you working here? Are you working for Mr. Stone? You must be a look-alike. Why are you dressed like that? What did you do to your hair? The mother refused to see the power, seeing the daughter only as a subordinate. Diana tried to force a familiarity, hoping to rescue the situation. Eliza, my God, you look great. Why didn't you call us? You're the CFO? Are you married? Why are you using that name? Erica ignored them. She looked directly at Mr. Vance. It is me, Dad, and I'm not dressed for you. I dress for my job. And yes, my name is E. Stone now. Erica coldly gave no time for further questions. She gestured toward the conference room door. Please, the meeting starts now. My time, unlike yours, is extremely valuable, and please do not call me Erica. My name is Director Stone. You are here to beg for the salvation of your home, and I am the only one who will decide if you deserve it. Erica turned and walked into the boardroom. The father, mother, and Diana followed her, their knees weak, knowing they had delivered their fate to the daughter they abandoned in the hospital. The humiliation was just beginning. The boardroom was cold and impersonal, but the drama within was intimate and devastating. Erica, Director Stone, sat at the head of the table, facing the three family members who had once rejected her. Mr. Vance, the father, and Diana tried to force smiles and professionalism, but the mother was in silent tears. Erica wasted no time on the mortgage. She did not open a folder of charts. She began to speak, but not as the chief financial officer. She spoke as the abandoned daughter. I know why you are here, Erica began, her voice low and controlled, but loaded with 7 years of pain. You are here to save the house. You are here to beg for the privilege you think you deserve. Mr. Vance tried to intervene, stammering about numbers. Director Stone, please, can we focus on the loan? I have all the balance sheets and the potential for return. We will get to the balance sheets, Father. Erica interrupted him, using the word father like a dagger. She looked at Mr. Vance. But first, let's focus on one day. 7 years ago, the day I nearly died. Erica began a detailed, cruel recounting of the night she fell ill, the phone call that was not answered, the excuse about Diana's dinner, the pain she felt alone in the taxi. She looked at her mother. "You told me to call an Uber. You told me I was exaggerating so as not to ruin your favorite daughter's night." She then fixed her eyes on Diana. "And after I got out of surgery, I saw this." Erica pulled out her phone and displayed the photo Diana had posted, the image of the family smiling without her, with the caption, "Best family weekend ever, missing nothing." The air left Diana's lungs. "Erica, that's in the past. I didn't know it was that serious. You were just missing nothing, Diana," Erica concluded, the coldness of her voice breaking her sister. "I am your nothing, and that is the only truth that matters in this room." Mr. Vance, crying, tried to beg for forgiveness. "Erica, please, we were wrong. Forgive us. Now focus on the loan. Our home." Erica slammed her hand on the table. The silence in the room was absolute. "You think I am just the chief financial officer of Stone Global?" Erica asked, her voice rising in authority. "You think you are asking me for a favor?" She picked up a leather folder and opened it, revealing an old document. "I am not just the chief financial officer. The Stone Global Fund is merely my intermediary. I am the owner. And 2 years ago, when your mortgage went into default risk, I used my own money. I bought your mortgage debt entirely." The faces of the 3 family members turned pale. The mega twist was complete. They weren't asking for a new loan. They were asking for forgiveness from the daughter they abandoned, who was now the sole creditor of their house. "You are not asking for a new loan," Erica said, the final verdict. "You are asking me not to foreclose on the house you used as collateral. Your mortgage, your home, belongs to me. It belongs to the daughter you instructed to call a taxi." Diana let out a stifled cry, and the parents collapsed in tears. Erica's revenge was not the loan. It was the revelation that she possessed the single asset they valued. The foreclosure was in her hands. The silence in the Stone Global conference room was broken only by the muffled crying of the mother and the sound of Diana's accelerated breathing. They had discovered the truth. The daughter they abandoned was the owner of their house. Diana, always the first to seek privilege, broke. She crawled from her chair, going to the end of the table where Erica was. She was pale, her face contorted in despair and fear. "Erica, Erica, please, you can't do this. You're my sister. I didn't know it was you. I beg you. We love you. Please forgive us. I'll do anything you want." Diana pleaded, her voice hysterical. The former arrogance crumbled into desperation. The parents, Mr. Vance and Mrs. Vance, joined the pleading, weeping openly. "My daughter, we were wrong. We were blind, stupid. Forgive us for that day." The silence in the Stone Global conference room was broken only by the muffled crying of the mother and the sound of Diana's accelerated breathing. They had discovered the truth. The daughter they abandoned was the owner of their house. Diana, always the first to seek privilege, broke. She crawled from her chair, going to the end of the table where Erica was. She was pale, her face contorted in despair and fear. "Erica, Erica, please! You can't do this! You're my sister! I didn't know it was you! I beg you! We love you! Please forgive us! I'll do anything you want!" Diana pleaded, her voice hysterical. The former arrogance crumbled into desperation. The parents, Mr. Vance and Mrs. Vance, joined the pleading, weeping openly. "My daughter, we were wrong. We were blind, stupid. Forgive us for that day at the hospital. Please, Erica, You can't take the house from us. It's all we have. Where will we live? Erica watched them. Her face remained cold. She hadn't sought revenge to feel powerful. She sought revenge to eliminate the pain. And their request for forgiveness was too late and entirely conditional. Forgiveness? Erica asked, her voice soft but more destructive than any scream. You are not asking for forgiveness. You are asking for the privilege of keeping your life intact. You are afraid of losing face, of Diana losing her social status. She pulled out her cell phone and displayed the fateful photo again. I offered you the chance to be a family and to love me unconditionally, and you left me alone, almost dying, so as not to ruin dinner. You taught me that I was irrelevant. Erica fixed her eyes on Diana. The price of rejection, Diana, is not money. It is the total loss of privilege. And the privilege of having a home was built upon my exclusion. Erica slammed her hand on the table, the final decision. My verdict is this. Stone Global denies the mortgage extension. The deadline has expired. I am the owner of the debt, and I demand full repayment now or immediate foreclosure. Mr. and Mrs. Vance sobbed. Diana screamed, despair turning into final hatred. You're evil! You're a freak! You ruined your own family! Erica stood up, putting an end to the meeting. You are not my family. You are the people who taught me how to survive alone. Erica activated the room's communication system. Security, please escort these individuals out of the Stone Global headquarters. They no longer have business here. The parents and Diana were escorted out, ruined, humiliated, and homeless. The daughter they abandoned had become the executor of their mortgage. Erica's cold justice was served. The conference room door closed behind the parents and Diana, but the silence that followed was not one of peace, but of exhaustion. Erica remained standing, tense, the weight of the foreclosure heavy on her. The side door of the room opened, and Richard Stone, the CEO of Stone Global and Erica's husband, walked in. He was not surprised. He had watched the entire scene on closed-circuit monitors with an earpiece in his adjacent office. Richard walked directly to Erica and hugged her tightly. There was no criticism or judgment in his eyes, only pride and unconditional support. You held firm, sweetheart, Richard said, his voice deep and gentle. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but you did what was morally necessary. They ruined themselves, not you. Erica allowed herself a moment of weakness in Richard's embrace. I almost gave up, Richard, but the image of that photo, the humiliation, I couldn't. Richard looked at the table where the mortgage documents were open. You didn't destroy them, Erica. They destroyed themselves the moment they chose a dinner over their daughter's life. You merely managed the consequences. It was time for Erica to take her place not just as director, but as Mrs. Stone, publicly and without reservation. Richard, I need you to do one thing, Erica said. I maintained the separation between director and your wife for security, but now they know. I need the full title. Richard smiled and kissed her hand. You have no idea how long I've waited for this, Mrs. Stone. You are my greatest asset. Richard then made the call. He summoned the executive secretary and the public relations team. He instructed that from that moment on, the director of finance and strategy would be formally known as Erica Stone, the CEO's wife. Erica's secret identity was over. Her new power was public. Richard, in an act that surpassed any dowry or prenuptial agreement, wanted to cement Erica's authority not just in title, but in capital. He sat down and quickly drafted a formal document. I don't want you to think about money, darling, but I want you to know that your power is unassailable. Richard signed the transfer of 10% of Stone Global into Erica's name, a gift of respect and admiration. The woman the family had rejected for being poor was now the multimillionaire who owned a slice of the empire. Her power was no longer derived from marriage. It was hers. The revenge was complete, and Erica's dignity was cemented at the top of the financial world.
The sentence delivered by Erica did not take long to materialize. The mortgage extension deadline had expired, and the foreclosure was quick and relentless. The family house, the last symbol of their status and privilege, was lost. Mr. Vance and Mrs. Vance, who had prioritized a dinner and social vanity, were forced to face total loss. They could no longer maintain the facade. The change was painful. From a spacious house in a prestigious San Francisco neighborhood, they moved to a small, cramped, and miserable apartment in a run-down area. Diana's collapse of social status was even more brutal. She lost her circle of friends, her contacts, and her ability to maintain the illusion of success. The luxury she so valued vanished. She could no longer blame her ex-fiancé. She could only blame herself for her cruelty and her parents for their weakness. Desperation soon turned into a desperate and pathetic plea. Days after the move, Diana tried calling Erica, appealing to sisterhood. She sent long emails full of fake apologies and emotional exaggerations. Erica, however, had anticipated this. All family numbers and emails were permanently blocked. The absence they had imposed on her at the hospital was now the absence she imposed on them. Diana, in a final act of humiliation, took a cheap flight to Los Angeles. She went to the monumental Stone Global headquarters wearing her oldest, most desperate clothes, hoping to force an encounter. She was turned away. Security, following direct orders from Mrs. Stone, treated her with cold and final politeness. Diana was sent away without even seeing the entrance door. She was irrelevant to Stone Global. The status she so desired had become the wall that kept her out of her only salvation. Sitting in the small apartment, surrounded by boxes and misery, Mr. and Mrs. Vance were forced to face the truth. We were blind. We preferred Diana's false brilliance to Erica's substance. We abandoned the daughter who almost died for a dinner. And now, the daughter we had rejected was the only one who had the power to save us. The cost of our abandonment wasn't the money. It was the loss of our home, our dignity, and our future. We chose vanity, she chose power. Erica's justice was not prison. It was the punishment of forcing the family to live the mediocrity they had tried to avoid, knowing that the daughter they scorned was the only one who had the power to pull them out of that hole.
Erica Stone's office, high above Stone Global, was a refuge of silence and light. She sat alone, watching the Los Angeles sun set over the Pacific. She had just hung up from a video conference where her team confirmed the foreclosure and transfer of ownership of her parents' house. The cycle was finally closed. I destroyed them. I forced them to face the mediocrity they so despised. That looking at the horizon, I didn't feel triumph. It wasn't a sweet victory. It was the cold peace of one who ends a long, unnecessary war. The pain of that night in the hospital, the image of Diana's smile, and the caption, "Missing Nothing," were my fuel for 7 years. It was my discipline. It was my strength. But the price of success was loneliness. I had to become cold, unattainable to ensure no one else could ever reject me. They told me to call an Uber. They taught me that I was less important than a social dinner, and I forced them to lose everything. But the true victory, I realized, was not their loss of the house. The true victory was getting rid of a toxic family. I built my own worth. I built my own name. I am no longer the daughter who begs. I am Mrs. Stone, and my power is unassailable. I lost a family that night, but I gained the chance to build my own character. I don't need their forgiveness. Their forgiveness would only be an attempt to regain lost privilege. My peace came from the realization that I brought justice to that girl abandoned in the office break room. Erica's legacy would not be built on revenge, but on the correction of trauma. With Richard Stone's support, Erica used her new fortune and influence to create a massive foundation, the Second Chance Fund. The foundation would be dedicated to providing immediate financial and medical support to young students who, like her, faced health crises without family support or resources. The first check signed by Stone Global was allocated to cover the expenses of a student in San Francisco who had been abandoned by her family because of a health crisis. Erica's new legacy was not a house or a title. It was the promise that no other person would feel the solitude and terror she felt in that office break room. She transformed the trauma of abandonment into a beacon of hope for the most vulnerable. She had finally found peace. The story of Erica Stone and the Vance family is more than a tale of corporate revenge. It is a study on the real cost of negligence. The mortgage foreclosure was a final act of justice, not hatred. The fate of Diana and her parents proves relentlessly that the cost of abandonment is the total loss of support when it is most needed. They prioritized ephemeral status and Diana's vanity over their daughter's life, and the universe charged the full price, exactly in the currency they valued most: financial security and social privilege. They lost their home and their status to the one person they judged to be irrelevant. Erica's ascent demonstrates that the true legacy is not an inheritance of blood, but the family we choose, her husband, Richard, and the value we build with our own hands. Now, the final and crucial question hangs over Erica's fate. Was Erica's punishment just? Should she have forgiven her parents and Diana and used her fortune to save the family home, even after the betrayal and abandonment at the hospital? Or was she correct in forcing them to face the consequences of their actions, denying them financial salvation? Leave your honest comment below. Was her revenge deserved? Or would forgiveness have been the true moral victory? If this epic story of abandonment, relentless justice, and the triumph of dignity touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like so we can continue to explore impressive stories of karma, stunning twists, and the unwavering strength of character. Thank you for watching.